Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Bright Light Show with Diane Sylvester and friends. I have the most amazing friends. My name is Diane Sylvester. I owned a metaphysical store. I've been a healer, a psychic. I've done a lot of woo-woo stuff. And my goal is to introduce you to the world of woo and all my cool friends and things that you can do, because right now we're in this wake-up period. Anything that you might have noticed on the spiritual kind of postings and whatnot, you'll see that everybody's feeling this age of Aquarius. And it's not like we're all gonna like jump on Broadway and take off our clothes. Age of Aquarius, right? Anyway, I'm here with my good friend who actually, we haven't actually known each other that long, a couple years. And Sammi, this is my friend Sammi B. She is also known as the Wacky Witch. Cue the hat. We need the hat. We need the hat for this, Sammi.
Want to see the hat? Okay, I
Come
can get the hat.
on, come on. Sammy's
Okay, good.
been in a bunch of documentaries, as you can hear from her accent. She's an Aussie. She's a psychic consultant. She's been 6 years on psychic TV in Australia. She's incredibly intuitive. I've got this really long resume that's going to be in the show notes, I promise, but let's just see some of them. She's an author. She's published some decks, which we're going to get into in a little while. She's a holistic therapist, a meditation teacher, an astrologer, a tea leaf reader. She's done ghost busting. She makes candles. I know she makes the most beautiful things. And maybe one day we'll handle some of her products on the soulcenter.com site. But right now, I'm still at the basic stages and can't do international. But she's got a website, and that's going to be in the show notes because it's super long. But what I'm really happy about is that Sammi is our first person that considers himself a witch. Obviously, the Bright Light Show is all about the bright lights, people that are outside the matrix, people that are seeing reality beyond the kind of mechanistic viewpoint that a lot of people, you eat, you work, you die. They see beyond, they see spirits, they understand cycles and seasons. In the old days, these people were venerated. In the Bibles, there's always the prophets. In the courts, there's always the Merlins, the advisors to the king. But in our current society, we've lost all respect for the elder. And
the crone, yes.
Yes, the crone and the wise man as well, because there is just obviously, the more time you spend, the more stuff that happens to you, the more you go, "Oh, I don't want to walk into that wall." You're wise. Wise can sometimes come from jumping into the same bad situation. So anyway, I digress. I am very grateful to bring to you today my dear friend, Sammi B, the Wacky Witch, Los Wacky Witch. And see, I want to start out with a little anecdote about Sammi and myself. The other night, Sammi and I decided we call it flip a read for each other. It's like, hey, I'll do yours, you do mine. Because, I read for myself, but it really is better to get someone else's point of view. It's like we're in our own heads. It's good to, and also we have different guidance systems, different groups of beings that are as assisting us. So sometimes they know stuff that we don't, so it's always good to get advice from a psychic or a healer. A few I usually advise, because then you get a bunch of perspectives, like having your own court, so to speak. But anyway, so Sammi and I are doing this read, right? And I'm laughing because we're on a Zoom just like this, and I'm using my angel cards and she's using her decks, which have a lot of imagery that one would consider more, gothic. Sammi also happens to be a Harley Davidson rider. she's definitely got, all these trappings of things that seem more intense, but yet there's not a more loving, caring, giving, generous soul. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful teacher and being of the light. So, Sammi, would you mind talking about these darker, like you're like, I'm with the angels and the wings, and she's got like soul. I'm like, I'm going, and then I said, isn't this funny? Because I'm like looking from above, going, this is funny. And this is a show right here. And she's like, well, let me tell you about the skull. So would you mind? And without, please, you do more of the talking than me. Sammy, welcome to the show. Talk to us, please. But
Thank you,
be
sweetheart.
about death, all of it.
Well, number one, good day from Australia.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited for you and very excited for everyone. Yeah. Okay. So, really and truly, I mean, I'm very, very lucky because I believe that we're all spiritual in one way or form. Like, we're born spiritual, we're born perfect, and, children see imaginary, giggle at things or laugh at things, etc., etc. And that's because they can see or mix with spirit children, you know, imaginary friends. No such thing as imaginary friends. They
I
do
had
see spirits. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So it kind of starts from a very early age. Unfortunately, what happens about age 4, age 5, society takes over, they go to school, they don't want to talk about it, etc., etc., etc. It's very important that we encourage it. So I started having mine when I was very young. So my grandparents were, I was very blessed to have the most amazing grandparents ever. But my abilities, I'm third generation, so it kind of comes from both sides of my family. So when I was very young, I was dreaming about, it was colors, so it was always colors. I'll never forget it. It was just like purple dots and dashes, and it was coming into my head and triangles, etc. So I used to think it was the bed, so it was just like, I say to my nan, I'm having really crazy dreams, that the bed, is it the bed, or, I mean, you say silly things when you're young, when you don't understand. And she said, no, 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 don't be silly, don't be silly. That's how it started, and it just kind of went from there. Then I was just crazy dreams, crazy dreams. Obviously, you get a little bit older. I was actually levitating off the ground when I was walking when I was about 11. So I was
You're the
actually,
second person that I know personally that's told me about
and,
levitation.
and, and it's kind of like it's not something that you would expect to happen. You know what I mean? It's just like walking along. I mean, a little suitcase, and I literally felt myself lifting off the ground, and I kept thinking to myself, am I walking? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not something an 11-year-old, 10, 11-year-old would go, am I levitating? Am I lifting off the ground? You know what I mean? But I really, really felt like there was just cushions, clouds under my feet, and I was not walking on the ground. So it was pretty crazy. I did have an NDE, so
Oh,
I
so
did
you,
have it.
you are
I
an
did have an NDE. I
levitation.
did have an NDE, yeah, a long, 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 long time ago. So in that sense, the tunnel was there, and you know what I mean, all this kind of thing. But then um, my abilities were kind of there, but I was actually very scared because that programming is there, being English as well. It's like, you've got to go to Sunday school, love thy mother, love thy father, all this kind of thing. So I was very frightened of it. You know what I mean? So I started going, oh my goodness, what's happening? Hearing things and seeing things. And I was just like, this is good. I'm going insane. And I feel we all go through that
Yes.
on our spiritual journey. We all get that kind of like, is this good? Is this bad? So it kind of like,
Also, am I nuts? Am I nuts?
yeah, yeah,
People
yeah.
calling
It's
me
just like,
nuts,
because,
you
and I
know?
mean, back in the day too, I mean, like channeled in my book, like spirit talking about how people were put into mental asylums because they could hear voices. Now,
Exactly.
70% of the time, I don't believe that was that. I believe that they did hear spirit. And unfortunately, again, it was squashed the same as many things have been squashed.
May I
And
stop
so,
there, because I do believe, and I do want to interject this because this is a very important part of my work, is that sometimes it is negative spirits. I mean, like Son of Sam was listening to some kind of demonic being, and that does happen to people too, where they're hearing negativity. So that's a whole other conversation, but
yeah,
you can hear all kinds of stuff. It's like tuning a radio to whatever frequency, right?
yeah, but you understand when things happen like that, they tend to, I don't believe as such in demonic. You know what I mean? Spirit are very awesome with me because unless I see with my own eyes or hear it with my own ears, it's hearsay. And that's no disrespect to anyone. That's just the way I
fine.
work.
No, this is what we want to hear from you.
And
Okay,
so this is
so,
just the way I
but there are
work. So
more
yeah.
less positive beings.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. There is, I mean, it's the same as talking about a Ouija board, you know what I mean? It's just like, we all do it as kids, you know what I mean? It's just like, let's do a Ouija board. It's just like, excuse me, the Ouija board is something that you do not mess with unless you know what you're doing, it's just
Screwed
like,
up my life at 18 years old, took me
yeah,
away from my acting and sent me on a journey of not acting, because
yeah.
was so crazy because there was things and moving, and I brought in all
Yeah.
this crazy stuff, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So, I mean, now you can buy them that are actually designed by psychics, you know what I mean? So, and it's protected by two psychics. There's a psychic circle, which is really good if you want to do that kind of thing. But, then what happened, I went to see an actual psychic myself because it was just like, you know, and he took off my ring and he put it on his finger and he just started going, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, he could have smacked me in the face with a wet fish, you know what I mean? He kept going, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. And I'm just like, no, no, no. And he's going, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, no. And he's going, yes, yes, yes. You are gonna, you're gonna write books, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. And I mean, come on now. I mean, I was in my 20s by then. I mean, I was doing readings for people, but it was few. I mean, I did read for 12 years for free. And because I'm a great believer in an exchange of energy. And then it kind of just went from there. So I heard first, I was working behind the bar at Caesar's Palace and very, very, obviously, very, very busy. And
Caesar's Palace, where?
in the UK, there's a Caesar's Palace in the UK, and there was all this just blah, 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 not specific things, just blue shoes, flowers on wallpaper, you know, just bits and pieces. It was really weird. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on, you know, this is just crazy. And it was just going on and on and on and on and on, about 8 voices at the same time. So I ran into the bathroom and one of the staff, you know, one of the girls, she ran in after me. She's like, are you all right? You've gone very pale. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me. I said, I think I'm having some kind of nervous breakdown, or I'm having a psycho attack. I don't know. So she said, well, what's going on? So I said, I'm hearing like blue shoes and I'm hearing like flowers on the wallpaper and all these voices in my head. So it wasn't specific. It was just bits and pieces, you know? So she said, I think you need to talk to my mum. So I was like, hmm? So she said, you need to go and speak to my mum. So we set up this meeting and I went and talked to her mum, and the bits and pieces that we were saying was from her mother.
Huh.
But I mean, obviously at that time I didn't know that.
Wow.
So it kind of just went from there, you know what I mean? And then it took probably about, oh, I don't know. It probably took about, I mean, in spirit world, there's no time, as you know. So time is irrelevant to them. You know, they don't have clocks and days and nights and time like we do, but it's just like numbers are right, just time association. So I probably want to say about 7 months. It's a very interesting, you know, sit on the toilet, you leave the door open, yeah? So I looked at the bottom of the stairs. Seriously, there was this red velvet dress. It was just stunning. But there was no head, no arms, no feet, just this dress. And I'm like, what the hell is going on now? And that was the first time. Again, I'm like, well, I can see this dress, but it's got no head. It's got no arms. It's got no legs. You know what I mean? It's just like, what the hell? What the and then all this craziness, you know. So that's basically really, and then I talked to my grandparents, my granddad.
Hold on 1 second. Now you've counseled many people on their own
Yeah,
spiritual awakening. Let's stick to this subject because a lot of the people listening, this is their first rodeo, or it's
yeah,
the because the age of Aquarius, you're an astrologer. We've moved the Pluto, you know, from Capricorn to Aquarius. It's the wake up time. So talk about everybody that wakes up and kind of what that stage looks like, because you just talked about it in your own life, but you're also a teacher. So maybe talk to that a little bit for a second about what
yeah,
that looks like, the craziness of the wake up period. Because
yeah,
that's
it
a lot
is.
of people are.
Again, it is again because of the programming, you know what I mean? It's just like, so when you do start seeing things and hearing things, it took me a long time because like spirits say, you know, fear breeds fear. You know what I mean? And then the next thing you know, there's a boogeyman under your bed, but you've actually done that, and it's our conditioning. Now I started to talk to my grandparents because my grandfather, people used to queue up outside that house because he could remove warts from people's hands. So they used to queue up outside the house, and I used to, but they didn't talk to me about it. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, Grandad can remove warts. And I'd say, how do you do that? And he said, one day I'll tell you. Unfortunately, he passed. And
Oh,
my grandma really didn't sort of talk to me too much about anything until after he passed, which
huh.
I was present when my grandfather actually died. So I'd never actually seen someone pass before. So it's like there's lots of different and spirit will give us different things at different times. So this is just my experience. Yours is probably different. You know, we all have different ways. Some people are auditory, some people are clairsentient, some people clairaudience, and some people can feel spirit, some people can see spirit. You know, so the whole idea is just to get them all so you have all the clairs, and that takes time. So unfortunately, like I say, back in the day, it wasn't like talked about, it was swept under the carpet. Tea leaf readers were under the carpet, under the, you know what I mean? It wasn't talked about. So I'm very lucky
I
because I
wouldn't say it's really talked about now
have,
much either, except for people go to
no,
Barnes and Noble and buy a little tea leaf reading kit, but
yeah,
there's no mentoring process, which I believe in the old
no.
days before
You see,
television and all that, it was passed down, right?
yeah, we all have our niche, you know what I mean? So it's finding that one thing. I mean, meditation and discipline is number one, seriously. So it's just like to do this kind of work, you know,
Did you just say
it,
discipline? It's not my favorite.
discipline, it is discip
I know.
meditation,
I
discipline, you know,
Ah,
it is,
the
it
C
is, it
word,
is.
no.
I'm
Yes, I
sorry, do
know.
it.
Ah, Virgo, get back. Ah.
It is discipline.
It is.
Because when we're having meditation is when I mean, we're so busy in our day, you know what I mean? We're so busy in our day and everybody's, yes, you've got to work to live, you know, blah, 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 blah. But what I've learned over the years, especially doing this for a long time, it's just like you keep one foot in your spiritual and one foot in your physical at all times, and you're always going to be okay.
Smart.
You know what I mean? You're always going to be grounded, you know, grounded. People will
I'm
go,
gonna stop you right there because I'm looking at the time. I want you to go back to the skull.
yeah,
Excuse me 1 second. Let me just mute my I want to go into that, and I also want you to be able to have a moment to show your decks. We are going to be having her websites in the show notes. The amount of products that this woman turns out is crazy. She makes candles, she makes all this kind of stuff. Just so impressive, so artistic. These decks are absolutely stunningly beautiful. So we're going to talk about the skull, but maybe you could do it while you're showing your deck. It's a little hard. Do you see the reflection on your screen? Like, put it up, go up from the light. Yes, good, good, good. A little bit better. Now come forward, come toward the camera. There we go. A little bit and a little bit down. So there's that card. Can you talk about it, please?
yeah. Again, the witch thing, you know, people say skulls, you know, it's just like skulls are bad. What's skulls about? And having this obsession with skulls for a long time, I kept going, why am I getting all these skulls? But then it's just like learning also and understanding that skulls for is protection. You know, so skulls is what we have for protection. You can see that I've got them everywhere, you know, so people go, oh my God, I've got them on my body, you know, people go, skulls. It's just like, it's a bad thing. It's not actually, we use it myself. It's a form of protection. So I have skulls everywhere. I have them with lights in, I have them with candles. So, you know what I mean? So that's a
I
protection
don't know
thing
what
for
it
me.
means. I met Max, the crystal skull. It was traveling through LA, and somebody I knew, and it was this skull that it's apparently from the Neolithic period. It's like one quartz, and these skulls that have been found, they say we can't do them now the way that they're, I don't know, I don't understand. But anyway, I did meditate with this, but somehow these skulls have been left on the planet from something somewhere else, something about the skull itself.
Yeah, and there's a lot of skull crystals now too, you know, so there's a lot you can
I
buy.
have some for sale, yeah.
Yeah, you have some. You can buy the big ones or you could buy the small ones.
That's what
So
I'm saying. The one that I
yeah,
meditated with was something that went back in time that had been found in a cave or something.
yeah,
These
that's
skulls,
cool. That's
something
so
about these
cool.
skulls. Well, this person,
Yeah,
like their job, they travel with this skull and they go to
yeah,
different events and people.
that's awesome.
Oh,
Wow, that's so cool.
but so
And
you're saying it's protection, and so how does the skull? How is the skull protection? Is it like a
it's
crystal?
just, it just to me, it's just like it's because I think it's really sometimes it can be very difficult because people go, I need to have protection. Yes, we do to a degree, but when you've been doing it for a long time, you know what I mean? It's just like it's kind of like automatic. So I've got so many things around me, like the crystals, I've got the skulls, I've got the sage, I've got, you know, it's just like everything that's would indicate protection for me. So it's just like it's just an automatic thing. It's just I'm protected and I just am.
So we're in a thought universe. You know you're protected, ergo you are.
Yeah, and it's just like even when I'm channeling, you know, people go, "Oh, okay, well, don't you do protection?" It's just like Well, no, because I'm already protected. So it's just like I believe that so much. And like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. So it's just like it's not like I have to go now, okay, let's do this, let's do that. But that's part of learning. I mean, you do, I mean, again, it's just I trust spirit
It's the
100%.
fear that brings in the negative experience. And as a man, so he is in the Bible. And if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford. So in this thought universe, you know you're protected. You are.
I
You
just
know you're
am. I
good.
just am.
You are. And you can have any vestige of, things that I love the witch's brew cup. Here, cheers, baby. Yeah. But that's the whole thing. It's perception is reality, is what you're teaching
Exactly. And
me.
that's why I always like to say to people too about spells. Words is spelling. Okay. So my deck was channeled. So my deck was channeled, and it's all in poetry and it's all in rhyme, and it's old
Could you
school
explain
because
what channeling means? Because we got like 2 minutes. Please
okay, so
explain what that means.
channeling is where we connect. It's just like I higher my vibration, spirit lower theirs. It's like a radio antenna, we meet in the middle. You know what I mean? So it's just like, so they talk to me, so now I hear them, I see them, I feel them, I touch them, and everything now, which is over the years, it's got more and more, obviously more and more and more. So you get all the clairs. But it's channeled. So the cards were, every message on the back of every card was channeled, and it's all old school, so it
Would you
is. And then
please
I've got a,
just randomly pull one card for this episode, just for
I can. Okay, let's have a look. I have two decks. I have a black and white deck, and I have my. So
and
this deck
all
is
of these
very
are on your
special.
website, right? And all of these are on your website.
No, they just, and not at the moment. They can just, because these are only just launched.
Okay,
So my two. So if anybody's interested, then they can just send me a message, obviously through my social media. So
excellent.
this is Earth Element. So this deck was made with love. It's very different. It's from my heart, from my soul. It's things that I own, places I've been in the world. You know what I mean? So this is Earth Element. So time to wear green and white. I am Earth Element. Abundance, wealth, and happiness to you is being sent. Riches are bestowed now, more than the eye can see. We also give to you right now grounding and stability.
Wow, riches, grounding, and stability. Sold. I want that. What a great one. I love it. That's like awesome, awesome. May it be so, and so it is. Yes, 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 yes. And what about one from the other deck?
On the other deck, okay, let's have a look. The toadstool. Can you see it?
Yes, thank you. And what is the toadstool about?
Your gut feeling is calling, intuition very strong. Once you connect with it, it will not guide you wrong. Pulsing in your third eye, trusting what you see. It will never lie to you, your psychic ability.
How amazing. That's the entire point of the show, is to help everybody wake up themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we're all psychic. We've just got to learn how to use it. And
Right.
different people will do it in different ways. That's the whole point. That's why I love to teach, because it's just like finding your niche. Once you've got your niche, the rest will just grow around it. We all have to have that tool to start with, whether again, meditation, what I mean, whether you can read the tarot, the oracle, whether you can do tea leaf reading, I mean, it's such a huge scope. There's so much
Well,
to
we're
learn.
we're going to be bringing you into Soul Centered as one of our teachers at some point
Thank
to
you.
teach one of these really cool things. And if you guys have any interest in some of the things that Sammy's mentioned, please do put it in the show notes or send us an email. And unfortunately, sadly, we're going to draw this episode to a close. And I just want to say this, Sammy, you're quite a role model, in that you stand in your truth and you don't mind being exactly as you are, who you are, and
Well,
shining the light, so
thank
that's just
you.
beautiful. You are truly one of the bright lights, and thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Anna.
for being on this episode. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you, sweetie.
And in order to find Sammy, please do check the show notes. Her website will be there and her resume will be there, because it's quite extensive. And if you're in Australia, especially, look her up. She can do your ghost busting for you. So until the next episode, thank you so much. And by the way, my name's Diane Sylvester. My business is soulcentered.com, SOULCENTERED.com. And thanks for supporting my website and keeping me in 3D. Thank you again, Sammi B, aka the Wacky Witch. Until next time. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.